Tener, I have an awesome verb for you, and I may let you have it too. By now you're probably catching on to my not-so-funny sense of humor. The learning objectives for this lesson are that you define the verb tener, conjugate the verb tener, and identify and use some of the idiomatic expressions that tener has in Spanish. Tener means to have, and so much more. Here's how to conjugate the verb tener. Yo tengo, I have, and that should be review. We've seen that with ¿cuántos años tienes? How old are you? And yo tengo, however many años. Tú tienes, you have. Él tiene, he has. Ella tiene, she has. Usted tiene, you formal, have. Nosotros tenemos, we have. Vosotros tenéis, you all have in Spain. Ellos tienen, they have. Ellas tienen, they have, for girls only. And ustedes tienen, you all have. Tener is an irregular verb. It has some spelling changes that you may notice in the conjugation. And we're going to talk more about other verbs that take these spelling changes later on in the next chapter. But for now, the conjugations of tener are as you see them here, and you do need to memorize how to spell the conjugations. Think of conjugation as a spelling test because it's all about the spellings of the verbs. So what more can I say with tener? Tener actually has a ton of expressions that use it in Spanish. We use the verb tener to talk about when you have something or have things, but we also use it to say a lot of other things in Spanish. For example, like I just mentioned, you say tener años, and it means to be a certain number of years old. When you say tener calor, it means to be hot. Tener frío, to be cold. Tener éxito, to be successful. Tener hambre, to be hungry. Hambre is hunger, and in Spanish you aren't to be hungry, you have hunger. The same thing with thirst. Tener sed means to be thirsty or to have thirst. Tener prisa, to be in a hurry. Tener miedo, to be afraid, or again, to have fear. Tener razón means to be right or to have reason. Tener sueño is a way to say to be sleepy. So notice that in Spanish, tener means to have, and you have these things. But in English, a lot of the same expressions happen with the verb to be. So that's what makes them idiomatic expressions. They're expressions that only work within that language. So within that language, like within Spanish. So instead of thinking of tener only meaning to have, it also has a lot of other meanings that it can imply with that. And then the other thing that I wanted to mention here is that when you use tener in these expressions, you do have to conjugate it for whoever is doing or being that condition. For example, if you want to say, I am cold, you would say, tengo frío. He is scared, or he is afraid. Él tiene miedo. We are sleepy. Nosotros tenemos sueño. So you can't just say tener and then the expression. You need to actually conjugate tener. There's also more that you can say with tener. You can use tener to indicate obligation to do something. For example, I have to do something. And the way that you do that is you use tener, and then you say que, and then a verb. So you conjugate tener, put the word que, and then you put the next verb not conjugated. You leave it in its infinitive form. For example, tengo que estudiar. I have to study. Tienes que dormir. You have to sleep. Tenemos que comer. We have to eat. Notice tener is conjugated in those sentences, but the second verb, which you have to do, is left in its infinitive form, not conjugated. You can also use tener to express desire to do something, and that's kind of not saying I want to, but it's saying I feel like, or I'm in the mood to. And the way that you do that is you say tener, conjugated, ganas de, and then whatever it is you feel like doing. So it's another verb left in its infinitive form. Tengo ganas de bailar. I feel like dancing. Tienen ganas de nadar. They feel like swimming. Tenéis ganas de mirar la tele. You all feel like watching TV. So go ahead and put it to use. Try to write these sentences using the idiomatic expressions with tener. Remember that you want to conjugate tener and not conjugate the verb that follows. Was that so hard? It probably was, because there's a lot of these expressions. They feel like drawing. Ellos tienen ganas de dibujar. I am hungry. Yo tengo hambre. She has 2 books. This is not an expression. This is just a straight up use of tener, meaning to have. Ella tiene 2 libros. We have to clean the house. Nosotros tenemos que limpiar la casa. He is successful. Él tiene éxito. They are hot. Ellos tienen calor. You all in Spain are right. Vosotros tenéis razón. You are afraid. Tú tienes miedo. Carlos is 13 years old. Carlos tiene 13 años. I am sleepy. Yo tengo sueño. Time to check yourself. Can you define the verb tener? Can you conjugate tener? And again, yes, spelling counts. And can you remember all of those expressions that use tener in Spanish? And believe it or not, there are still more. This PowerPoint doesn't cover all of them. So just keep practicing. I know there's a lot of them. Great job.